Hello, welcome to the Biohacking Podcast. And today we have a very special guest joining us. He's the CEO of SHROOMWELL, dedicated biohacker and a true pioneer in leveraging the power of mushrooms for personal and planetary health. Welcome, Silver Lau. How are you?
Hi, Cheryl. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. How's everything going today?
It's going well. It's going well. Like we discussed previously, I'm in Estonia. I'm in the Nordics in Europe, and for some reason the spring just keeps on delaying, which makes things a bit harder, especially from the biohacking side, because like you really have to work on yourself to have the energy and everything. But I
Yeah.
think it's slowly starting to change. So.
Yeah, you said there was snow, right? That must make it hard to grow produce.
Yeah, well, snow just makes things like I love snow, don't get me wrong. Like I love winter. I have no problem with that. But if it just doesn't want to leave, that's where I have the problem.
I hear you. Well, we're in the height of summer here. It's just coming into autumn. Obviously, I'm in Australia and it's Anzac Day, hence doing this podcast in the car today. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's been so hot most days that my entire face just sweats. I get the whole mustache sweat. It's really awkward. I go like that all the time on podcasts, which is but look, I'm really keen to delve into your background, your journey, where the interest came from and everything to do with SHROOMWELL as well, your business. It seems super interesting. So can we just start with like a pivotal moment that sparked your initial interest in biohacking and what led you to found SHROOMWELL?
Yeah, of course. So obviously, like those two things are strongly related. But the biohacking journey for me started back in 2014. I used to live in Canada, in Toronto, and I was this very conventional dude.
Okay.
I smoked back in the day. I drank about like 6 or 7 coffees during a day. I worked like crazy hours. I was a night owl. Like I actually had a belief system in my mind that if you wake up and go bed during inside of the same day, something is wrong with you. So like I woke up in the morning and then I never went back to bed before midnight. So like usually it was like 2 a.m. So like in hindsight, that's a destructive behavior, right? But I was young, body was resilient. I was able to exist in that sense. So, but I've always been an entrepreneur. I always had this entrepreneurial mindset. So I had my own business there, and it required a lot of effort from my end to keep it up and running. And I remember that, like you asked, this pivotal moment, and I remember this pivotal moment where something changed, something shifted in my mind. It was around 7 p.m. I was still working, and I went out to get coffee. So I'm standing in a queue in
Again, for coffee.
yeah, that was probably like seventh coffee in the day, and I was in a queue in a Starbucks. And I'm thinking to myself, but like, I wonder if there's any way that I can actually increase my brain power, let's say just 10%. And I'm just like standing there and thinking to myself, like, okay, my brain is my biggest asset. And I'm like, if I can just increase the power 10%, what can I actually achieve? And I'm thinking that thought, and then like I get my coffee, and then I step outside and I'm sipping my coffee. I light my cigarette, and I walk back to office, right? But the thought itself kind of stuck, and it stayed with me for some time. So, and at one point I started to look into it. I was like, so like, what if? So what if I can actually do that? And this is where kind of the journey began. So I quit smoking. I uh, I don't say like I quit drinking, but I quit the social drinking. So like I still do consume alcohol once in a while, but I'm very careful when and with whom and what's going to happen the next week. Not only the next day, but the next week. So cutting those things out, and also sleep, obviously sleep,
Yeah,
the most important regimen. So I started to go to bed inside the same day, and it made a
Well
huge difference,
done.
right? And then I was like, I think I achieved my 10%, and I feel amazing. I feel great. I was like, but what if? What if I can achieve another 5% or 10%? Like, what else can I do? And this led me down to the journey of biohacking. I didn't know the word biohacking before that. It was just a
Yeah.
personal need kind of to have more energy or brain power. And then that led me down to the road of biohacking. And then I think the first guy that I stumbled upon was Dave Asprey
Yeah.
back in the day, the Bulletproof. And I started listening to his podcast. I started reading his books, and I'm like, this is fascinating.
Yeah.
Like, this is awesome. Like, looking at the body as a hardware
Yeah.
where you run the software, and you can actually change the software. You can't change the hardware that much, but you can change the software, and that does miracles. I was like, yeah, sign me up.
Yeah. Incredible. And I mean, so that was the pivotal moment when you realized that's where you needed to go. And yeah, I was the same as you. I didn't know, I'd never even heard of biohacking. It was kind of like I remember feeling obsessed with not just my brain power, but just longevity in general, and how some people lived longer than others and how some people could achieve things like that. And that's kind of where mine came from. But yeah, the term biohacking is fairly, new to me. I know it's been around for a while, but yeah, I mean, how has your understanding of everything evolved since, that time in 2014 when all of that realization took place? Like, where are you at now?
Well, obviously, like what I knew back in 2014, or what I learned in those first months or in the first year, and where I am today, it's night and day, because I deep dive into that, because it has become like, I'm so fascinated by the biohacking. Like, the sound, or the word biohacking sounds kind of like complicated and very like scientific.
Yeah.
It's not. A lot of things that we can do in the biohacking field are very, very simple. But I started to explore like the certain avenues. Excuse me. And I was looking for those low picking apples, so to say.
Yeah.
So what can I change that will give me the most results? And I call it the 80-20 rule. And that's what the biohacking is. It's the 80-20 rule. Like, change the 20% of the things in your life, change the things that will make you weak, and you will already achieve the 80% of the results.
Yeah.
So the first couple of years, I would say from 2014 to 2017, was mostly about that. And then from there on, I was like, okay, so I've done the 20%. I feel the 80% of difference, but I'm still very curious about the other 20%, like what's in there, like what else can I do, right? And then this is where you start to kind of try out different things that might sound or seem freaky for a regular
Yeah.
human being.
To many
But
people.
it's yeah, but I'm curious in that sense, and I shared the worldview that the body is yours and only yours, and you can decide what to do with it. Nobody else can tell you what you should do with your own body. So yeah, I've been trying a lot of things, and I'm trying to look for the things that will give you the fast benefit, but also certain things that will give you the longevity benefit, right?
Yeah.
So, debating, fixing, like, because every single day we have to fight with stressors.
Yeah.
Being it, like you said, the sunshine and the heat where you at, or being the not enough sunshine and the heat where I am at,
Mm.
like, those are all stressors. The body has to comply with that. And unfortunately, we don't live the rhythm of the nature anymore. Like, it's impossible, because this is not how this society works. So we have to do certain things to help ourselves along the road.
Yeah.
So being it a coffee that you put certain things in there, or even just a UV lamp, like those are the things that I'm kind of sorry, I'm kind of exploring. And obviously mushrooms, for me personally, mushrooms is a big thing in my life as well, because this is my Something that I found, I would say now 6 years ago, I started looking into it, and today I would say it's a lot of it is a centerpiece of my my biohacking journey.
Yeah. Wow. And I mean, look, in terms of what you do now, your routines now, obviously you still drink coffee. I take it, is it a different kind of coffee? Is it bulletproof or
Well, it is bulletproof. So something I've been doing since I started listening Dave Asprey. So shout out to Dave.
yeah, no,
And coffee is coffee is an excellent nootropic.
yeah,
So it's something that I think the statistic says that like it's something that 92% of the grown-ups adults in the world are consuming. So like most of the adults in the world are consuming coffee. Like this is as popular as it is. But obviously with any product, it's like it depends on the quality. It depends when you're consuming it. Do you abuse it or actually
yeah,
using it for your benefit? Stuff like that, right? So coffee is an excellent. I love coffee. Like I love the taste. I love everything about coffee. But I'm very careful how I consume it. Like I start my day when I wake up. The first thing that I do is not coffee. I take my like let's say 60 to 90 minutes before I consume my first cup coffee, because otherwise I'm gonna suppress a certain chemicals that are building up in my body that we should build up in the body early in the morning,
yeah,
and that will make my afternoon so much more harder.
yeah,
So the other thing is like, and you heard my story in the beginning, like 7 coffees a day, and like
yeah,
didn't matter what time of the day it was. And I kept on telling myself, it's like, no, 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 I don't have an issue with a coffee. Like I can drink a coffee and then go to sleep. Yeah, I can fall asleep, but it's the question of the sleep quality, right?
yeah,
So I don't drink coffee, yeah, after like 2 p.m. because the half-life of a caffeine is 8 hours,
yeah,
which means that even if you can fall asleep and even if you feel that you're sleeping well, it will affect your sleep. It will affect your sleep stages. It will affect your uh, the the result of your restfulness. Bless
yeah.
you.
Thank you. Um, Look, it's interesting what you say, about the quality of various different things. And I think it's kind of like, there are layers to these things, aren't there? You can start out with like a low quality supplement and then upgrade as time goes on. It depends how deep in you want to really get into this stuff. And I think that's something that a lot of people maybe don't grasp necessarily. But are there other things that you do other than coffee? Are there any supplements you take? I always like to ask before we hop into the business side of stuff, what your personal routine is. Like, what are you eating a day? What are you taking a day? What are you doing a day? What time do you get up?
Uh, where do I start?
In the morning?
Let's start with sleep. Let's start with sleep. Let's start with the morning. So I'm a strong advocate of sleep. And like this comes from a person who didn't appreciate sleep at all. I thought that sleep is a waste of time. So, but sleep will define the success of your day, your week, or even your month. This is how much it affects your body's natural doings. So I use Aura Ring. You probably heard of Aura Ring, right? So I've been using Aura for 6 years now. I have 6 years worth of data to understand like what affects my sleep and what can I do to either amplify certain sleep stages or what should I avoid to not to destroy my sleep.
What help?
So first of all, your day starts from the night before. Let that sink in. So what you do the night before will determine how you feel the next day. A lot of it is dependent on that. So try to have like a sleep regimen that will support your day. So go to bed at the same time. Doesn't matter if it's like 10 o'clock, 10 p.m., 11 p.m., or maybe even 12 p.m. in some of the cases. Try to use the same timing when you go to sleep. And then you wake up in the morning. If you do that, you start to wake up in the morning without using an alarm clock. So what I'm doing, like I've been kind of in the rhythm of like going to bed like around 11, waking up around 7, like getting my 8 hours through that. But lately, as today as well, like for me, when we started this podcast, it was 8 a.m. But I was up already like around 6:30 because lately I've been shifting my bedtime, like going to bed to earlier, and then I wake up naturally earlier as well because it's getting brighter outside. In Estonia, like it's interesting place. The Nordics is interesting place. Like during summertime, like the sun never sets. During a winter time,
Crazy.
it's crucially painful
Yeah.
how dark it is.
How do you do that?
Yeah, but you need to live in that rhythm as well.
Yeah.
So now it gets more brighter outside, and literally when I wake up 6:30, it's bright outside. Sometimes we even see the sun
Yeah.
if it's not cloudy.
But you're ready for the
So
day, right? When it's bright outside.
yeah, it's natural. You can wake up, like it's simple, it's easy in that sense. But obviously, like you need to put like it's not gonna happen if you go to bed like 1 a.m. or like 12 a.m. Like so sleep is the first thing that I'm very, very I'm trying to hold that regimen as much as possible. So because that will determine the success of a day. So and then next thing when I wake up, well, once again, depending where you at, it's not always that easy. But luckily, I have a dog, so the dog doesn't ask like either you want to go outside or not. Is the weather okay or not? Like you have to go outside, right? But then also, the first thing that I have to do is I have to move. So, and I usually do like half an hour to an hour, mostly like 45 minutes to an hour walk with my dog in the forest.
Nice.
So I get the movement going right away in the morning. The other big thing is get outside as fast as possible, get outside, get the natural daylight
Yeah.
into your eyes
Yeah.
because we have sensors in our retina that is actually taking that information in. And that's part of serotonin production as well. And as we know, serotonin is the happy hormone, right? So start your day right away going outside, try to get the natural UV light in, right? So that's what I'm trying to do. And then, only then, it's time for my coffee.
Nice.
So, and that's like we already discussed, it's a bulletproof coffee that you have the good fats in it. You have obviously high quality coffee as a
What do you put in yours? Do you use like MCT oil or?
Yes, I use MCT oil. I'm still a fan of Bulletproof, although I think Dave is fully out of it, but
Yeah.
their MCT oil is still one of the best. uh, some ghee goes in there, but I also stack a lot of other things into my coffee in the morning. Like I put lion's mane,
Ah,
mushroom for the brain. I put niacin, which is a B3 vitamin, vascular dilator. So I put shiitake into my into my coffee in the mornings as well. Sometimes I put chaga into my coffee in the mornings as well. Sometimes I do like midday chaga coffee. So this is usually where I stack my coffee. This is to start the day, and then throughout the day, depending on the day, like there can be up to like 30 different supplements that goes in.
yeah. I'm the same. It's
So, but this is once again like this is something that I've been fine tuning for myself for the last 6, 7 years. Like the supplements, if people are asking like, what kind of supplements are you taking? Like, let me copy that. It doesn't work like that.
no different for every individual.
Yeah. So you have to feel what works for you because like sometimes some of the supplements like can make some people like I don't know woozy
Yeah,
during a day or like they're not coping well with some other supplements and like that's all fine, but that's why you need to kind of try out first to see what works for you.
definitely.
But I'm leaning more towards these days because taking 30, 40 pills every day or capsules every day, it's like it's a work. It's a
Yeah.
lot of work.
I just get out of the way in the morning. But yeah, you're right about that. I try and feed them to my dad when I go back to the UK, and he's got like hypertension, and some of these things I'm giving him are not good for that. You've got to think about the individual for sure and figure what works best
Absolutely.
for you.
Yeah, what works for me, it doesn't work for my wife. For example, like she can't do as many supplements because some of them just don't work for her or she doesn't feel well with those.
Yeah.
But like I said, like even for myself, like if you keep on swallowing capsules for like 6, 7, 8 years in a row, like some there are moments where you're like looking at those capsules like, ah, it's like
Yeah.
a lot of work.
Yeah.
So I'm always trying to find like those things that I can kind of.
The 80-20 rule, the ones that give you
Yeah,
80
exactly,
result.
exactly,
Yeah, I got you.
exactly. So there are certain things, and that's why I love. I also love mushrooms because they're such a wholesome creatures.
Earthy. Yeah, that's what I was just about to ask, why mushrooms? Like, how did it get to this, the SHROOMWELL, why mushrooms?
All right, now it got really interesting. So I moved back from Canada in 2018. I was there for 7 years, and this is where my kind of biohacking journey began. And back in like 2014, 2015, when I started looking into biohacking, um, there was a trend of superfoods.
Yeah,
So everybody were talking about superfoods, next best thing after sliced bread, and it's never going away, and so on, so forth. And obviously I got into that as well. I'm like, okay, this is cool, this is awesome. Like I get it, but at the same time, it was somewhat complicated because superfoods, you have to take it from the pack and put it in your smoothie and so on, because like the portion that you had to consume was quite of a high. Around 2017, I started to see first mushrooms taking a small portion of shelf space in Canada and US. And for some reason, I was looking at, I knew nothing about mushrooms at that time. And I was looking at, I was like, this is interesting. This is going to be a new trend without knowing nothing about mushrooms. But the way they popped up there, I was like, okay, this is going to be something big. 2018, when I left Canada, that like few products on the shelf had expanded to like 5 to 10 products in the shelf. Like you see how they're taking up the space there. And I'm like, interesting. And I started looking into the mushrooms. And obviously the first thing that popped up was chaga and lion's mane. And being from the Nordics, chaga is something that we grew up with. Like chaga was kind of the part of the culture, has been a part of the culture for a very long time.
wouldn't have picked,
So, sorry?
wouldn't have known that.
Yeah, but that's the thing in Nordics. This is where the chaga grows, right? So, and I was like, okay, interesting. And I started looking into it. It's like, so what exactly is chaga? Because before that, I knew the name chaga, and I knew that this is something that the old people consumed back in the day. But I was like, okay, what is a chaga? And then the other thing was lion's mane, and it was fascinating. And lo and behold, I get back, I meet with friends, and basically this is the first thing that happened. Us moving back and meeting friends over like barbecue. One of the friends is like, oh, I just went to harvest a bunch of like medicinal mushrooms. I have chaga. You want some? And I'm like, okay. So gives me this big chunk of like chaga mushroom that
Okay.
is dried out, right?
So weird.
And I'm looking at it. I was like, so what the hell should I do with
So
this?
what am I going to do with
And it's
that?
like, yeah, it's like, well, just chop it up and then powder it and then put it into your drink, into coffee, and like stuff like that. I'm like, okay, but I don't know if you've ever seen a chaga mushroom dried out. Like it's this kind of a strong woody piece of
Oh,
like
I haven't.
gunk. It doesn't look like a mushroom,
Okay.
and it's very strong in a structure if you dry it out.
Okay.
So like I'm chopping it with a small axe into small pieces, and then put it into the grinder, the coffee bean grinder, right? And then I press the button, and then like I see smoke. I'm like, yeah, I just destroyed the grinder. So like chopping to chaga was like the most difficult part, right? Or
Unexpectedly
grinding.
difficult.
Yeah. So somehow I was able to grind it, and then I started to use it, and I'm like, oh man, this is powerful. Like the energy, the well-being, like there was something in there that I couldn't explain. I'm like, okay. Then I looked into lion's mane. I purchased the first lion's mane product when I was back in Estonia, and I'm like, wow, like the focus, everything that it gives. I'm like, wow. I'm like, yeah, this is gonna be a next big thing.
So you
This is
felt it.
definitely gonna be it.
You felt the
Yeah.
effects
And
and you,
then,
yeah.
yeah. And then like, but people still didn't know about, like, people were wary about mushrooms, like, because this is something that we've forgotten for like hundreds of years, the
Yeah.
mushrooms.
And they can be poisonous
So
or whatever as well.
yeah, yeah. And like, so people were kind of like fearful of consuming mushrooms. But COVID changed that. So people were locked in their homes for like almost 2 years, and the health and the biohacking movement became on for like very, very strong. And suddenly everybody were talking about lion's mane. Suddenly everybody were talking about chaga. So over these 2 years between late 2019 or 2019 to 2021, suddenly everybody knew about mushrooms. It wasn't this weird thing anymore.
Yeah.
So, which is awesome because I truly believe into the power of mushrooms. And why I believe in that is because, like, this is a not well-known fact, but we share 50% of our DNA with mushrooms.
That is
It's the
just an
closest
insane
thing.
fact, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the closest thing to a human being.
It's just,
No other plant or anything comes as close as mushrooms do.
I actually didn't realize it was that close. Like that's shocking, like astonishing.
Yeah,
And it's just a mushroom, right? You think like, why a mushroom? Why not a broccoli? Why not like, why a mushroom? What makes them so
yeah.
versatile?
Yeah, so somewhere down the road, a long, long time ago, like we were very, very close to each other, right? So and that means that if we share 50% of DNA, that means that the bioavailability and the way mushrooms act and behave in your body is just different.
Wow.
Like it's much, much bigger than anything else.
Yeah, insane. And look, what role do you believe mushrooms can play in addressing mental health challenges and, neurodegenerative conditions like Parkinson's and Alzheimer's? Because we've seen a lot of use of them in those areas recently and, depression as well.
Yeah. So as the time goes by, so I would say the floodgates were opened around 2020, when a lot of scientific research started to go into the mushroom field. And one of the breakthroughs is actually you mentioned already the mental issues, the diseases, lifestyle diseases that are affecting our brain and degeneration of the brain. One of the breakthrough studies actually came out from Queensland University in Australia about lion's mane, where they scientifically, like, it was something that we knew, or the society, different societies knew for thousands of years. Lion's mane is special. It does something with your brain. We don't know exactly what it is, but we've been testing this for thousands of years. We can feel the difference. Now the science caught up, and the ingredients inside of lion's mane, the two main ingredients, they were able to prove that those two main ingredients are actually communicating with certain proteins in your body that will initiate the growth of NGF, which is a neural growth factor, which means that it literally grows your brain and nerve synapses.
Meeting. That is really exciting. Very,
So that's a breakthrough to a next step, which is like, as you already mentioned, the Parkinson, the Alzheimer's, all of those diseases that used to be kind of a death sentence. And now we can say that, okay, you have a problem. Let's see if we can have a cure that actually reverses that disease. So the next couple of years are going to be fascinating because of
very
that.
interesting. Well, look, could you tell us a bit about how SHROOMWELL is leveraging mushrooms to tackle, global problems? Yeah, we'd love to hear all about the business.
So I'm going to show the shirt from
Yes,
from
for
back of
every
the shirt.
mushroom, there's a mushroom for every
Yeah.
problem. I love
So we have a saying in our company, there is a mushroom for every problem. And as funny as it sounds, like we actually believe in that as well, because like as the time goes by, we see like that we literally can cure every big problem with the mushroom. And the mushrooms are interesting in the sense where like they have this peak performance. If we're looking in terms of the health and wellness, they have the peak performance. Every mushroom has their own peak. Lion's mane for brain, reishi for stress relief and sleep, chaga for immunity, so on and so forth. So they're very good at something very specific.
Okay.
But at the same time, they're very wholesome. Like all of them are good for your immune system. All of them are good for like something else as well. So, but then there is another side of the story. So the company SHROOMWELL that is located in Estonia, we started as a wellness product producer. Now we have mushroom mycotechnology R&D department, where we're literally using the mushroom capabilities to fix some very big ecological problems, such as like deforestation is a big issue these days. If you do the deforestation, there are multiple issues. There are economical issues. Well, I don't have a forest anymore. What should I do with the land? Yeah. There's also a biodiversity issue. We cut down the forest. Well, the biodiversity is going to get a hit. Yeah. So, and it takes years, decades to recover from that. So we can actually use mushrooms to increase the biodiversity, where we jumpstart the nature 5 to 7 times faster because of the mushrooms, at the same time offering an income for the forest owners that otherwise they won't have for the next 60 years.
Yeah, you did.
So this is where it all...
You did a prezo on that, didn't you? Tomorrow University of Applied Sciences.
Exactly.
It's all about revitalizing forests, right?
Yeah. So this is where it all started, because we needed mushrooms. We were looking from a business angle. We're like, okay, if we keep on growing in the rate that we're growing, we don't have enough mushrooms to harvest sustainably. So we started mushroom farming. And then that led to a next thing where we're like, okay, we're actually offering something new, like a completely new layer for the forest owners, because they can grow mushrooms. They don't have to cut down the forest anymore. Or if they do cut the forest, then we can use the tree stumps to grow the mushrooms. And then we realized that certain mushrooms can fix very big problems in a forest. For example, there are forest diseases. There are a big problem in this region is root rot. So it's actually a mushroom that literally comes into the living tree, starts to rot it from the inside out, and travels through the tree roots to another tree. And that costs around €1 billion every single year in Europe.
Insane.
We found 2 mushroom strains that can actually fight with that mushroom, either to digest that mushroom or push it out. So we're already testing on hundreds of hectares in Europe, because in the lab conditions, in the various lab conditions, we saw it's extremely effective. But the beauty about this is that A, we fix the problem. B, there's a mushroom as a side product that is a medicinal. C, we can take that mushroom and put it into the end consumer products where we can fix issues that humans have. Wow. So it's a win-win-win.
Win-win-win. And so what is the makeup of SHROOMWELL at the moment? Like, how do you guys operate? Who's in the team?
So we have a group. We're a group organization. So underneath it, we have the wellness arm, we have the R&D arm. So altogether about 40 people. We are the largest medicinal or functional mushroom outdoor farm in the world. So we're having about 700 plus hectares, close to 800 now, I think, outdoors farms. And then we also have indoor farms where we grow certain mushrooms that are just too resilient to grow outdoors or are too picky. So we have that as well in Estonia. So we grow our own mushrooms to have the full cycle, to have the cleanest products, the cleanest source materials, so we can control the entire cycle and say, like, we know exactly where the mushrooms are coming from. And also the second part of it is that all the R&D is also happening. The mushroom mycotechnology R&D is also happening in Estonia, where we're testing it in the labs, then testing it indoors in the various conditions, and then taking it outdoors. Now we're including also scientists and organizations from Sweden. In the US, we have universities from Holland, for example, who are participating in our tests and programs, because what we do is fascinating and they want to be part of it. So we're expanding quite fast.
That's incredible. Like 40 people as well. It's fair whack. Like if I wanted to buy a product, one of SHROOMWELL products, like what would you recommend to me as an individual?
So all our products are amazing. So like what we do is we try to avoid to make a very like simple products that are already out there. So like if we can't add something new and exciting and be more beneficial to your health than any other product out there, we're not going to make that product. So, and I can proudly say that. So all our products are very highly bioavailable for human body. They're unique recipes. They're extremely good for you. So if you're in US, then our products are available on Amazon. But if you're in Europe, then visit our online store, shroomwell.com. And if you use a code Cheryl,
Yes.
then
Cheryl, CHERYL.
yes, then you get 20% off from your first purchase.
20%. That's pretty generous. I'll use my name as the code. That's interesting. And look, is there anything else you want to share with anyone, out there looking to incorporate mushrooms into their wellness routine?
My answer to that is very simple. Do not be afraid of mushrooms. Like, be curious. Do not be afraid of mushrooms, because they're very, very powerful allies. And be curious enough to actually try those mushrooms, and you can see the difference. It will change your life, I promise you.
Thank you so much, Silva. Pleasure to have you on today.
Thank you, Cheryl.